There are some massive names out there in the stock market that you guys have been asking me about that have just cratered down in stock price in a very short period of time. And you guys want to know, are these stocks a massive opportunity or a huge trap that you need to avoid? Now, this time around, the list is just wild once again. And there's a very distinct theme here that we'll get into specifically as to what that theme is and why that theme is happening with these stocks. But we do have some great companies in this list. We got some complete trash and everything else in between. And I'll probably give a take or two that will probably make some folks out there really upset. I'm sorry. That's just the way that it goes sometimes. Got to give you guys the truth without the hype. So it's going to make a few of you guys upset. But I'll tell you if I think these are massive opportunity in any six of these stocks at these lows. So let's talk about them right now. Right after you like the video, if you like getting the truth out the hype, because that's exactly what you get today, guys. And make sure you're subscribed too. I mean, it says a huge chunk of you guys that watch aren't actually subscribed. So make sure you're subscribed. You get the notification bell on. Completely free to do, guys. And thank you very much. It does help out the channel a ton. Now, always remember with any of these lists, I don't care about 52-week lows, just like I don't care about 52-week highs, because a stock can be significantly overvalued even at a 52-week low, and kind of vice versa, right? You can be at a 52-week high and still be undervalued as a business. So it's not one of those hard, fast rules. Well, wow, stock's at a 52-week low. I need to take a look at it now. Obviously, it kind of hits your radar sometimes in regards to this, but it doesn't necessarily tell me if it's a buy or not. You got to look at valuation. You got to look at everything else that's going on around that stock. So kind of keep that in mind. It's just not something I really look at. I mean, it could be at a 52-week high. And if it's undervalued and I love the company, I'm probably going to continue to buy it despite the fact it's at a 52-week high. And there's a lot of stocks, when they hit that 52-week low, they're still massively overvalued. And I want nothing to do with them at those lows. It needs to make new 52-week lows and a lot lower in some cases in order for me to buy them. But let's start with the first stock. And they kind of get more controversial as we go, culminating in the last stock we will discuss today that is absolutely going to kick up the most discussion. But let's start off easy here first. And that stock is McDonald's. And I know it's McDonald's. Most of the folks on this channel here aren't necessarily interested in McDonald's, but this was all the rage back in 2022. This was the go-to stock. This was the stock making 52-week high after 52-week high. This was the money stock that folks were going to during that time frame while we were busy buying, I don't know, Palantir in the 6.7s, Meta in the 80s. I mean, there was all kinds of stocks at ridiculous lows at that stage, but McDonald's is at the high. And now here we are just a few years later, and McDonald's is down at a 52-week low, mostly due to the overvaluation situation they got in 2022 coming into 2023, where it was just crazy overvalued. McDonald's isn't a growth story. It's not a company that, if you're looking at the dividend, it's a dividend play, obviously, but I think there's far better dividend plays out there with far better growth prospects. I mean, I don't know how many more McDonald's you can put out there. And I don't know if the world will get more health conscious, but if they ever do, McDonald's is in for a world of hurt in regards to that. So you kind of got, I won't say capped growth, but very slow growth moving forward, and just a business that, to me, especially trading this rich, man, there's a lot better opportunities out there in the market this one. So I'm going to stay far away from McDonald's, just like I'm going to stay far away from stock number two, and that stock is Lucid. Now, we'll get into some of the more controversial pieces around the EV market and everything here in just a second, all right? But Lucid, it's been a company since it was CCIV, for those of you guys that can remember that. I made a video about that, basically saying it's overvalued. Why would you buy this stock? I don't understand it. It just didn't make any sense. It was all hype, nothing else. They were years away from a product, I think, at that stage. Obviously they had a product, but they were years away from scaling that product. This company has never made sense to me. It's in the luxury market, really tough. Unfortunately, the EV revolution, where all cars on the road are going to be EVs by 2030, don't think that's going to happen. Or anything, even half of that, even, a third of that, just not happening. So obviously they're in the luxury segment too. And with everything getting more expensive, and obviously the economy is not necessarily faltering, but definitely people being much more prudent with their spending and what they want to spend money on. Loose is definitely one that it's just wrong product, wrong time, maybe a little bit too early. And of course, just the business has just been mishandled from the start from this management team. There really aren't a lot of positives there. So it's one I'm staying far away from for now. But it gets a little bit interesting here with number three, and that stock is Nike. And I see this comment all the time. I'm not real sure why. Maybe got a lot of Nike fans out there. I really have no idea in regards to that. But I know for me, Nike has had business problems for a while now. And I don't know if that new CEO can come in and turn it around or not. Obviously, you guys know, Jordans are my favorite of all time. It's still the best selling, shoe out there by a country mile. But Nike's lost a lot of the average consumer. A lot of the other places where Nike used to dominate, they just don't. And, when you go for a running shoe, when you grab a marathon shoe, Nike makes a great marathon shoe. But for a trainer, not so great. There's a lot of other brands that have come up that I personally, as somebody who does do occasional running and such, I go other places. They're far more comfortable. They're better shoes overall. And so that quality piece all the way down has just continued to fall off while competitors have continued to rise up. So that casual shoe audience that they used to dominate, they're not necessarily dominating anymore like they used to. And again, a lot of those upstarts are coming up and taking up a lot of market share. So can Nike turn that around or not? I still think a lot of times when I go to the store, Nikes have some of the best designs. But again, as I've gotten older, quality matters more. What specific shoe for what I need it for, whether it's, city walking, whether it's for, daily runs, whether it's for, cross training, whatever the case is, there's a lot of options there and there's a lot of better quality options and a lot of those different arenas than Nike. So for me with Nike, the question is not, is it a great company or not? Of course, it's a great company. I think it'll be around for years in the future. It's not a bankruptcy risk. It's not anything of that nature. The question becomes, can this management team infuse more quality in their products and capture that magic that they once had, where folks are now not just immediately defaulting to Nike only for top tier, I'm just using running as an example here, just that top tier shoe, but defaulting for their daily trainer as well, and a lot of other things of that nature within the different shoe markets, the different shoe segments that are out there. Still have the best marketing team. They still get the best athletes, of course, but it's not translating to the bottom line like it used to. And that's the question you got to ask yourself is, can this management team turn it around and bring back that power to Nike? That's the big question mark right there. And of course, if you believe that, then Nike might very well be a buy at this stage because it is trading at a much cheaper valuation than it has in the past. Of course, it's got a nice dividend as well. But again, they have to turn around that perception or else it's going to kind of be stuck in this pattern here that it's in currently. And you're not really going to see the kind of growth that you should see from a name like Nike. All right, now we're on to the bottom three, top three, however the heck you want to phrase it there in regards to the stocks. And we'll start with the first one right here, number 4. It's GameStop. Okay. And this is one I've spoken out about since the GameStop, run up debacle thing. I don't know why it still comes up. Seems like the crowd's gotten a little bit quiet there, but this name is on the list consistently and has been for years now, guys. There's not some super mega gamma ultimate squeeze coming. That's just from folks who just have a very rudimentary understanding of the market and how the market works and how it actually works in reality, not how it should work. And that's a big distinction right there. That's another thing that macroeconomists get wrong and things of that nature. It's great, if the economy would run in this perfect static environment and this vacuum that they create with all their models and everything else, but that's not reality. You got the Fed, you have governments, you have human behavior, you have banks, you have all kinds of other things that throw a wrench into all that sort of stuff. And GameStop, I don't know. It's a business I don't want any part of right now. Obviously, I wish gaming would do better. Obviously, there'd be awesome if we had some great games out there and a lot of great things happening out there in the gaming world. But we're just not, unfortunately, physical stores. You've seen it. The new release coming out, all of them are all online now. You can't even get physical games anymore. Makes it very, very hard for GameStop to do anything to justify the price, much less show any sort of growth. So it's one I'm staying far, far away from. And now, okay, here comes, guys. Here comes. This is probably be the most two commented ones. At number 5 is Neo. And I know every time I make a Neo video, I haven't done one in a long, long time because I did it. A, it didn't do well, and B, I said it's range bound. It's going to be range bound for the foreseeable future, and I said that almost 3 years ago now, and I just got blasted for it. And here we are, still in that $5 range, all these years later. It always seems like it'll get a nice run up, and then it comes right back down. Nice run up, comes right back down. Oh, they're going to be profitable. Oh, they're going to do this. They're going to do that. Guys, the reality is always in the earnings in regards to these stocks. Not only is it a Chinese stock, and we got a lot of geopolitical noise out there around that, the management team spent years creating distrust among investors. Now all of a sudden they're turned around and they finally turned to surprise profit. But again, can you trust that? Is it going to last? Are they going to be profitable from here on out? I don't know. That's a big question. And it's something I want to see multiple quarters, maybe even a year or two of quarters before I decide that, hey, yeah, this management team can be trusted here as that. Otherwise, it's completely trader controlled. It's going to trade up to that range that we talked about. It's going to trade right back down in the doldrums that it's in right now. It's kind of rinse repeat. It's in traders no man's land. And until there's some actual consistent, sustained, fundamental performance up and to the right, that's where NEO is going to stay, unfortunately. I said it 3 years ago. Folks didn't want to hear it. I understand that completely. I know there's a lot of hype birds out there around NEO, just like there are Tesla birds and everybody else out there. But this is stock investing. This is the reality of what happens when the fundamentals aren't there to back it up. When management team doesn't deliver on what they say for years on end, it's not going to draw on the larger institutional investors, the larger investors to come in, buy up the stock and hold it at a much higher price, and then of course continue to increase the price as earnings continue to increase. That's the reality. We haven't seen that from NEO yet. I would love to see it. I love the product. I obviously think the Chinese market is a great market to be in, especially for EVs, because they absolutely are basically forcing their populace to the EV, revolution. So, definitely the right niche. Everything else they just have not executed. That's the bottom line. Have they improved some? Sure, absolutely. Are they all the way there yet to where I trust them after years of mistrust? Not yet. And obviously, that's true for a lot of other large investors as well. That's why everybody's kind of staying away from NEO for now. And on to the last one here. And that stock is Tesla. And I know, slow down. I know it's not at a 52-week low. It just hit that a few weeks ago where it got all the way down to 292 in the 290s or something, just briefly there, just a few weeks ago. Understand completely that Tesla's not there now. However, I wanted to address it right here because we have not talked about Tesla in a while right here on this channel. Obviously, I got almost all the way out of Tesla. It was up over $400, so I don't remember what I sold it at now in regards to that. But Tesla has struggled fundamentally, just like NEO has, just like the entire EV revolution has for years now. That's the bottom line with Tesla. That's why it can't seem to pick up any momentum. That's why it's basically, hasn't done anything for almost 5 years now. Matter of fact, you're down if you bought anywhere up over 400 or so over the previous years. And now with SpaceX and everything else kind of coming, it's just there's a lot going on there. And I honestly, it becomes harder and harder and harder to value Tesla. If I try to value the business fundamentally, it's not that great. It just isn't. Energy is the shining star, and even it's inconsistent at times. Obviously, I know a lot of folks are always talking about robotaxi, always talking about Optimus, things of that nature. Again, I'll wait and see whenever stuff hits the bottom line in regards to that, because there's been a lot of talk about a lot of different things, but not a lot of action over the past 3 years in regards to bottom line profits coming to Tesla. As a matter of fact, you continue to see margin erosion. You continue to see games being played on the financials and such, and nothing illegal, nothing nefarious. I'm not saying that at all, but it's something to where it definitely gives me pause. And until I see that fundamental performance underneath, I don't see any reason at this stage for me to jump into Tesla, even though obviously it's had a nice bounce off those 52-week lows there in regards to that. And obviously I still own a little bit, so I want to see it do very well into the future there. But there's a lot of show me. There's so many things going on, so much CapEx spend going out that it's going to make it incredibly difficult unless the car sales really pick up, which, you could debate as to whether or not they want that to happen or not, for them to really see that bottom line improve. And I'm sorry, robotaxi is not improving the bottom line this year. It's just not. We're probably a couple of years away from that. Hopefully it gets there. Obviously, there's a lot of competition out there. I know a lot of Tesla bulls like to ignore, but they're there and they are expanding and they are doing well as well. But nobody's turning a profit with this yet. And that's perfectly normal for a new technology, a new segment coming out there. That's not where my issue lies in regards to Tesla. The issue lies with the fact that we are a couple of years away at a minimum from seeing sustained great performance underneath with all the CapEx going out. And that right there is going to be the hard part. Is those margins continue to erode? How much further are investors going to allow and give that rope in order for that to happen before they start reallocating capital other directions? And of course, everything else going on with SpaceX there, a lot of moving parts there, a lot of guessing going on both ways, bulls and bears. And it's one that, hey, if you're going to own it, you need to understand the ride with Tesla, understand it's going to be up and down, and understand the fundamentals are not here now. They're not probably going to be here next year or the year after. That right there is when you may start seeing that. And so you've got to be comfortable with that and be willing to ride the train in between, or the roller coaster in between, which is always the Tesla roller coaster, right? Up, down, and everywhere in between. That's what's going to happen there. Who knows what Elon's going to announce next or anything else of that nature, which of course will immediately send people to their $5,000 price targets tomorrow. And, other folks bear saying it's worth $30. Neither one of those are true. Sorry, guys. Hate to bust everybody's bubble there. But if you want to see my complete watch list with price targets, get your free Fiscal AI, almost $1,000 membership for free for you. Free courses, free coaching, the best 6, 7, and 8-figure Discord out there. I may have left something special for those of you guys that stuck around this long down there in the comments. To get your membership, you get to keep that price for life. Check it out and see if a membership's right for you. And click this video here if you want to see exactly what I'm buying in this market. And click here to see my exact plan for this market. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.